The 49ers beat the Packers 24-21, and what you just saw on that field is what Joe Montana used to do for the San Francisco 49ers. That is what turned Joe Montana into the greatest quarterback of all time. Brock Purdy just did it today. Struggled throughout the majority of the game. The wet weather was really affecting his grip on the football. There was even a replay that showed him trying to wipe his hand on his pants mid-play. He was misfiring over and over again, and then when the 49ers had their backs up against the wall, they pushed all of their chips into the middle of the table on the final drive. They said, we're gonna score on this drive. There's not gonna be a tomorrow if we don't score on this drive. Everything was on the line that final drive. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy began throwing darts at a bullseye. But Brock Purdy delivered in a way that Joe Montana used to deliver for the 49ers. Remember, Montana threw 3 interceptions in the January 1982 NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys before he drove the 49ers the length of the field to deliver to Dwight Clark. So Brock Purdy today did not play consistent football for much of the game, but then when it absolutely mattered, that 3rd and 6 to Brandon Ayuk, you literally could not throw a dart in a bullseye better than what Brock Purdy threw that pass to Brandon Ayuk. Perfectly tight coverage, delivers to move the chains to Brandon Ayuk. Very next throw, deep out pattern to Chris Conley, who got a lot of reps this game because Deebo Samuel was hurt early on. And the 49ers' entire game plan seemed that it had been designed through Deebo Samuel. So when Deebo went out with the shoulder injury, the 49ers were scrambling. They were not themselves today. Kyle Shanahan even lined Jawan Jennings up as a running back on the first play of the second half. That didn't end well. They were trying to force the ball to Ray McCloud on earlier 3rd downs. Purdy was misfiring because of the lack of rhythm that the offense saw with the Deebo Samuel injury, and he was misfiring because he couldn't grip the football. But on that last drive, even though stuff wasn't lined up for the 49ers, never say that Brock Purdy needs everything lined up for him again, because he just delivered a playoff win against a red-hot opponent with stuff not lined up for him, with things going wrong, with the football wet, with Deebo Samuel out, with the game plan derailed for the 49ers. Things were tail spinning for San Francisco, and Brock Purdy stepped up and delivered a touchdown drive of 49ers legend. This is going to live on forever in 49ers franchise history. That's how you put perspective on this. You have to sit back and realize that what you just watched to send the 49ers to the NFC Championship game is something that 49ers fans are going to be talking about forever, for decades. They're going to be talking about it like the Young drives, like the Montana drives. And if they finish this off with a Super Bowl victory, then it's truly going to be cemented as in the pantheon of truly great 49ers moments. But even if they don't win the Super Bowl, you're going to look at this game and you're going to look back at it with a smile. And that's my overarching way to look at this. Obviously, there was the throw to Chris Conley, and then there was the run from Brock Purdy down to the 5-yard line. Remember, there was that controversy a couple weeks ago before the Ravens game when I said that Brock Purdy was really quick? Well, there you go. His quickness was on full display. 9-yard run to set up Christian McCaffrey's touchdown from 5 yards out. I went down into the stadium to get a feel for the crowd noise in this one, and Christian McCaffrey scored on I think it was a 50-something yard touchdown run earlier to give the 49ers a 14-13 lead, the loudest I had ever heard Levi Stadium. McCaffrey scored the winning touchdown. He scored the go-ahead touchdown. The 49ers obviously had adversity to fight through in between both of those plays because their special teams unit failed them. Their defense struggled in between. But McCaffrey and Purdy, talk about a duo that complements each other in a sensational way. I don't think any two superstars in the National Football League complement each other quite like Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy complement each other. And, I say superstars because Brock Purdy's a superstar. Christian McCaffrey obviously already was one entering this season. But what Brock Purdy did today, his Joe Montana impression, when we talk about linking 49ers past and present, he is solidified as an NFL superstar. All the stuff that was said about Brock Purdy this week, all the criticism, all the pot shots that were unwarranted, he responds by not only winning, but by delivering in the most dramatic way possible. Clutch QB play. The 49ers have been 0-30 under Kyle Shanahan when trailing by 5 or more points entering the fourth quarter. Well, today they were trailing by 5, and they are now 1-30 when trailing by 5 or more points entering the fourth quarter because of the clutch play that Brock Purdy delivered down the stretch. Now, the reason why the Packers kept this game close, I thought that Jordan Love made some plays early in this game, and the 49ers, the run defense is a concern. But they're moving on to the NFC Championship against a team, either Detroit or Tampa Bay, that is significantly worse, in my opinion, offensively than the Green Bay Packers, who had been the number 2 offense in football ever since Jordan Love turned things around in Week 9. The 49ers are the number 26 run defense in football, and that reared its ugly head today. Their struggles to stop the run early in this football game allowed Green Bay to run play action. They had space downfield. I thought Matt LaFleur was better than Steve Wilks for most of this game, but Wilks won at key spots. They stopped Green Bay in the red zone early on, so Green Bay had all those trips to the red zone. 49ers had that 4th down stop. They stopped Green Bay's version of the tush push. Jordan Love is not nearly as strong in the lower body as Jalen Hurts, so that was a big stop of leverage for the 49ers, and they kept the game reasonable even though Green Bay dominated time of possession early. That allowed the 49ers offense to settle in. And as the 49ers offense settled in, they scored points, but they couldn't consistently keep that momentum up because of, I think, the loss of Deebo Samuel was really big. I think that they couldn't quite develop the offensive cohesion and consistency that they normally see. Because of that, this turned into a dogfight until the very end. But the 49ers defense made stops when the 49ers defense absolutely needed to come through with those stops. And then they got the missed field goal from Anders Carlson. Both of these football teams had struggling special teams units over the course of this season. It looked like the 49ers special teams unit would struggle a little bit more than the special teams unit on the other side. When you saw the big kick return for Green Bay following the McCaffrey touchdown, when you saw the early Jake Moody miss, it all looked like that was conspiring against the 49ers to lead to a brutal playoff loss. But then Anders Carlson, the Packers rookie kicker, missed, and the 49ers actually held the upper hand in the special teams category in this football game. So there's a lot of people going crazy here in the tunnel. It's all good. Crazy game. We're down here at the tunnel, Levi's, so this is where I always do my post-game reaction, and you can see Mike Shanahan actually just walked by. That wasn't Mike Shanahan yelling, "Let's go." That was somebody else yelling, "Let's go." The Packers are going to be coming through here in a little bit. But the 49ers today, stuff went wrong in every single phase of the game. Special teams, defense was giving up too many big plays on the ground. The Packers were victimizing Ambry Thomas downfield. That is the weakness that playoff opponents, we expected them to try to maximize, and the Packers were able to maximize it, especially with a couple of those defensive pass interference calls. But the 49ers stiffened up at just the right time. Jordan Love also missed throws today, just like Brock Purdy. Purdy, on the aggregate, was better than Jordan Love. He obviously was more clutch in this game. But Love, because of that, Purdy's not the only one who was struggling with the wet football. Love was struggling with the wet football, and he threw one behind a receiver, tipped up in the air, Dre Greenlaw interception. And then later on, Dre Greenlaw erases the ghosts of Jaquiski Tart by holding on to the second pick to seal this game and cement Brock Purdy's status in 49ers lore. It was Brock Purdy's Joe Montana moment. So again, just think of the context here. Think of the criticism, the completely unfair, unnecessary criticism that Brock Purdy has taken. Think of how people have not acknowledged how athletic he is. People have not acknowledged how important it is that he's such a good processor. People disrespected him from the start of this season in training camp, and they're saying Trey Lance should start in front of him. Well, Brock Purdy just delivered a Joe Montana moment as a response to all of those criticisms. And it wasn't just a Joe Montana moment, it was a Joe Montana drive. It was a Joe Montana playoff win. 49ers Packers has been highlighted by Young against Brett Favre, Steve Young delivering to Terrell Owens, comeback wins, big games, big rushing performances. We talk about the 49ers in 2019, the Kaepernick games in 2012 and 2013. Well, this one right here, this is just as dramatic as any of them. This one here, I think this goes up there with the catch too, with Terrell Owens. You don't have quite as little time left on the clock, but it was do or die regardless for Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and company moving on that drive. So next week, the 49ers are going to move on to play the winner of the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to be significantly better than either of these two teams. The biggest challenge for the 49ers in the NFC bracket was today against the Cowboys. Next week might be a coronation. I don't think that they're fearing playing Jared Goff or Baker Mayfield as much as you should be concerned about Jordan Love. But the 49ers do still have some stuff to tighten up. I'm going to go into the locker room now, going to get the reaction there We'll report on all that for you. We're going to see how Deebo Samuel and his shoulder is. That is going to be the main focus of this week. The good news for the 49ers is that they have an extra day to prepare. So again, the table is set for them to make it to the Super Bowl. Every single team that wins a Super Bowl needs to find a way to win a gritty game like this. And the 49ers, thanks to Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, probably the most dominant superstar tandem in the NFL, got the job done today against the Green Bay Packers. 24-21, a win that will be remembered forever in 49ers history.